Warning, this Spoilercast does contain spoilers of current and past movies, books, games, TV shows, and possibly your life. So if you're listening to a show called Spoilercast and you're pissed off that we gave away spoilers, we really don't care. Thanks again and have a wonderful day.
Hello, and welcome to Spoilercast by All Tower Media. I am Roper, joined once again by Jarreth. How are you?
I'm here.
You're getting ready to bounce your tail end out to Joklahoma where the wind blows, right?
Yep.
So we are getting this party underway so you can get on the road. But we also got Ledge back with us. How are you doing?
Doing great, buddy. How are you?
Dude, I was so looking forward to having you and Jesse on. It's unfortunate he wasn't able to make it today.
It does suck. It sucks greatly.
I was hoping to get him in a discussion with Jarreth because I think that their brains would like fill this room and
Probably would.
and collide, and it would be wonderful. I think it would be just wonderful.
That sounds painful.
It would maybe
Except
be
for
a
that
little
brains don't have any pain sensors.
pain receptors. See, this is why I want them to have a discussion.
Yep.
See, we were standing outside of
Probably
Guardians.
not safe though.
Well, we were having a discussion outside of Guardians of the Galaxy the other night, and Jesse came. He was like, my frustration is the freezing saliva coming out of the guy's mouth. And then I came home and I shared this information with Jarreth, and Jarreth is like, well, kind of, but, and he came up with an argument to it, and I'm like, oh my God, I would love to hear the both of you just like, and the point you were making stand to reason, and Jarreth argues it very well, and I was like, all right, I'm on board with this, but now I kind of want to hear the discussion between the two of them and hear what their thoughts are and see what like level ground they both get to. So, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. Tonight we are talking about Alien Covenant, which I enjoyed. Jarreth, did you like it?
Yeah. It was a solid 7.5.
Yeah.
Maybe an 8.
I would call it an 8. It didn't do what it promised it was going to do.
Yeah,
it
which is why I would call it a 7.5.
It promised that it was going to back to where it was. Like, it was going to be as scary as Alien, right?
Not so much.
From what I'd heard, it was supposed to be scarier than Alien, and that was the director saying it.
Right. But it's not.
It's not at all.
Well, okay, so, I watched Alien today. I woke up and I was like, you know what, I'm going to get ready for the show, and this is what I typically do. Anytime there's a movie that's out that has, like, other stuff, right?
It's still
other
tense as fuck.
Oh, it super is. But anytime there's a movie like this, I always try to like backpedal and watch some of the original stuff. You know, I go through and I watched Alien. I watched the CinemaSins for Aliens. I watched half of Prometheus, and then I came here.
It's good that you only watched half.
Well,
Save
you know,
yourself
the tail end of the movie
the disappointment
is irrelevant because, you know, they kind of cover through it in this. One thing that Alien Covenant did that I didn't expect them to do, and this is kind of, in my opinion, kind of unique, but also kind of annoying. There is a YouTube video that bridges the end of Prometheus to some of the unknown things that happen in Covenant. And by that I mean Elizabeth rebuilds David, and it shows part of
Bad fucking plan.
Bad plan, first off.
This movie and Prometheus, all of the issues would have been resolved hunky-dory if everybody would have just stopped trusting David's sketchy-ass robot.
Well, here's the deal. I watched Alien today, and basically they didn't know he was a synthetic at the time, but if you don't trust the synthetic, for the most part, you're good.
Hey, fuck that. Bishop's the bomb.
Bishop was the bomb, okay? Bishop... And the CinemaSins line where they're talking...
Bilbo just had bad orders.
That's true. Okay, that's true. But nevertheless, for the most part, you don't trust the synthetic, you're good to go. Because, number one, the first Alien movie, he deliberately lets it on board.
Yeah, and then he tries...
Mother's in this.
Really?
Yep.
Well, Mother's the name of pretty much all of the ship's AIs, with the exception of Father in Alien Resurrection.
Correct.
I think is what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, both of them. Okay, so I drew some similarities between Alien. It's kind of cool because Alien Covenant has several similarities between it and Alien, but it also ties Prometheus into it and kind of continues on the loop. So they do a really good job at tying some things together. Both of them are on a mission, like they've got a set goal.
Prometheus had a set goal.
Well,
To be terrible.
That's true. But you just hold on. So they're both on a. So Prometheus, and this is why I don't draw parallels with it. Prometheus, they receive.
It's a discovery mission, so they're like,
well, no,
we don't know what's
even,
there.
It's not even that. Okay, so it's their whole goal is this was their mission. They were going out there for this purpose. The Nostromo. The Nostromo, I apologize, is a commercial towing vehicle which is on a course back to Earth. It's returning to Earth, and its cargo is mineral ore, and it has 7 crew members.
Yes, and then they get a distress signal.
Where this, with Alien Covenant, they're on their way out to...
they're on their way to
their mission
Origai 6.
Origai 6, and
their mission is recolonization, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, to colonize.
Well, they're colonizing. Yeah,
not recolonization.
Yeah, it's just colonizing.
Colonization.
So they're out there with 2,000 people in cryo sleep, and they've got
a shitload more embryos.
15 people are the crew, and as they're going out there, they hit a catastrophe. They're recharging panels as they send them out there. These solar sails that they send out.
It's a neutrino burst.
There's a neutrino burst, and it knocks one of these things free, and it causes all kinds of damage. It actually kills their captain, which was James Franco.
Yeah, he got in under the radar being in this movie.
Yeah,
little cameo action.
Kind of. They basically look down at him in one of the sleeping pods, and then minutes later he bursts into flames because the whole thing just ignites, and then you get to watch footage of him in a camera, he's taking a cell phone video of himself climbing a mountain, and it's the main chick that we're watching in this is viewing that footage
because
so
he's
James
her
Franco
husband,
it's her husband, and they're going to this new world to build a log cabin by the lake, and that's their dream, right? And so
he's totally dead.
But he's dead. He's the first person that dies in this film.
Dead.
But here they are. Their mission, and that's why I'm not drawing the same parallel with Prometheus. Is that was their mission, was to go to this location.
So they achieve their mission in Prometheus. They go to the place
right
there.
They went point
here
A
we're
to point B.
detouring.
Here it's both movies, Alien and with this. There's a detour and they both intercept a signal coming from a planet.
From a vessel that is alien.
Correct. On both accounts. And it's the same vessel. Well, it's not necessarily the same, but it's the same
type
style of vessel in both accounts.
Are they engineers or architects? Did we decide?
I don't think we've decided. I think they're called engineers.
Well, it's called engineers.
The big gray guys.
They're engineers.
The engineers, not architects?
No, they are 100% engineers.
Engineers. Okay, that's what...
Okay, so
I wasn't 100% sure what they were calling them.
So in the old school Alien, they were referred to as space jockeys.
Ooh.
They call the big guys space jockeys?
Space jockeys is what the term was, was coined for the original Alien movie.
Interesting. Also, strangely enough, Jarreth, did you notice the plastic water drinking bird in Alien Covenant, which is also an alien?
I didn't realize it was also an alien.
It's also an alien, because while I was watching, I'm like, are you kidding me? I threw my notepad down.
I think it's in all of them.
Is it? Is that a thing in all of them?
Yeah.
I was actually trying to Google that, and I couldn't find an answer for it, and I didn't get a time to sit down. Like I said, I watched the CinemaSins for Aliens, and didn't get a chance to watch it again. But if that's the case, I would really appreciate knowing that. So I need to go back and watch all of them now to see if it is in all of them.
I would have to go back and check, but I think it even shows up in the background in AVP.
Really?
I think so.
Really?
Yeah. You're talking about the little pink flamingo.
Yeah, one of the
thing
little.
yep.
It's like the Homer Simpson.
I think
bow your head and press the button Y. Anyway, so that's it. I thought that was kind of cool, but I did because I just watched Covenant. It's in that, and I just watched Alien, and it's in that. Those are the two things I can definitively say. Yeah. So, like I said, it's the same ship, or appears to be the same style of ship. And let's see here. The one thing that I did take away from Alien, though, was there's like I said, it's one of the engineers, and he has a hole burst out of the side of him. And I want to get to that, why that's interesting here in just a moment or two. But so with Alien Covenant, they get this signal.
Mm-hmm.
And while they're listening to the signal, Tennessee, which I think it's kind of cool that the captain of the original ship
Dallas
is Dallas, and then in this, the pilot for this is Tennessee. I thought that was kind of.
He
cool.
does eventually become the captain.
He does.
Because the whole chain of command gets completely obliterated.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Literally, two people walk away from this movie.
He's the acting captain.
Kind of.
Because she's technically the captain, but since she's away, he's acting captain.
Right. Yeah. And so Tennessee is he's out. They redo the solar sail, and he on his way back in, his helmet starts picking up the transmission because he's like further out.
He's past like a radio buffer that they've got.
Gotcha. And that's why they weren't picking it up to begin with. Well, he's the one that ends up recognizing what it is that he's hearing, and it's somebody singing
"Take Me Home,
Country Roads."
Country Roads. That's it.
Yeah, and so he's like, dude. And so, like I said, the main captain, the original captain, he's dead. We get a new guy that's the captain. I don't remember what his name is.
Oram.
Is that right?
O-R-I-M?
Yep, Oram.
O-R-A-M.
Okay. Yeah, and everyone's kind of on the fence with him. Like, he doesn't really have a spine. He's kind of cowardice, but not really.
No, he's not cowardly. It's just he's off-putting.
I would say he's off. He's not much of a leader, like at all.
Lacks the charisma.
He tries.
He does try. Like his wife in this is really trying to get him to step up, and she's like, "Hey, you need to pull it together. You need to,
be a man."
But she's also trying to rein him in, because in trying to do that, he starts kind of making enemies for a minute.
Right. Okay. So he's basically like, "Look, we need to get these repairs underway," and everybody's like, "Her name's Daniels. Her husband just died. Can we have a minute? Our captain just died," and he was like, "We need to get this done." And so he's trying to show that
wrong, yeah.
He's trying to show that I'm stepping up. I'm the captain now, right?
Because even Walter, who is the new Michael Fassbender robot,
he is,
and he's a lot nicer than David.
Oh yeah.
Did you say the new Michael Fassbender robot?
Yeah, because there's two of them.
Yes, he is also Michael Fassbender is a robot.
He is Walter and David in this movie.
But they're the same model, but he's a newer model.
He's a newer version of the same model, right?
Gotcha.
So David,
Data and lore.
Yeah. So David in Prometheus
is a total dick.
Total asshole.
Yeah, very much.
He is literally the cause of everything that happened in that movie.
Yeah. He's also a lot more AI than Walter is.
And Walter's more machine, and they actually bring that up at a later point in time. But back to Oram in this decision that he's making. He's like, "Look, we need to get these things done. We need to get them underway." And everybody's like, "Whoa, let's take a minute. We need to take a minute." And as he sends everybody out to do their job, he's like, "This is an order," and everybody goes out to do their job. They kind of have a little funeral ceremony where they end up launching the body of their captain out the back airlock, and they all have a shot and whatever. And he's watching them on screen, and he's talking with his wife, and he was like, they disobeyed a direct order. And she's like, "Look, when this is all over and we get to where it is we're going, these are going to be our neighbors. Don't make enemies.
Don't be a dick."
Right. So he's kind of walking this fine line where
he's in a really hard place, all things considered,
for the most part. But then they finally figure out where this signal's coming from, and they're faced with a decision where they should go check out where the signal's coming from. Well, here's the thing. They've ran all these tests on this planet that they're going to. Origai 6.
So they've got a pretty good idea of a good range for habitability for Origai 6.
They've got all of the necessary equipment to terraform it and all of these things that they're gunning to go do, right? Well, when they get to looking at this planet where the signal's coming from, they're like, this is unprecedented. I mean, what we have found is
dead ringer.
I mean, it's in an optimal zone. The climate, the atmosphere, everything about it is like already where we need it to be.
But it's also somewhere that we should have noticed it, and we just never did. So that's a little bit like, why didn't we see this on our scans?
Okay. And so, he's like, maybe we just missed it. And Daniels is like, no, this is the mission. We need to stick to the mission. We don't need to go chase some phantom signal down.
But Orem decides that not only is there a good chance this could be a better home, which is valid, the readings show that, but they're obligated to at least go take a look at this thing.
Right.
So they can kill two birds with one stone.
Plus,
go make planetfall, check out the thing. And
every other member of the crew is like, fuck getting back in those sleep pods.
Because they'd be back in those sleep pods for another 7 years.
Yeah, they're like, fuck getting back in those sleep pods.
Yep.
So,
because they just watched their captain burn to death.
So they're like, I don't really want to get in one of these things.
I can't say that I blame them.
Right. So here they are. They're going on this fucking mission, and they've decided that they're going to detour over to this planet. Right. They get over to where they need to be, and there are like 3 hurricane-style storms going on down planet side.
They call them class blah 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 plasma storms.
Yeah, they're fucking swirling nightmares.
Which they mostly seem to be affecting the upper atmosphere.
Yeah, there's
not the lower atmosphere.
Nothing going on down beneath. But they manage to get through it, and they land. And I can't help but be frustrated at them, right? It's okay. So it's like the scene from Alien, and you're familiar. And Ledge, you're familiar with Alien.
Oh, very much so.
So you know that scene when they start getting the signal that what they think is a distress beacon, right? And as they're landing, Sigourney Weaver's like, hey, have we decoded any of that message? And they're like, yeah, we're still doing it. And then she's like, can I take a crack at it? And so then she starts listening to it, and she's like, hey, this sounds more like a warning than a distress, right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you take the time to, like,
pay attention to the signal?
To check out if you're going to decode the signal to begin with before you go landing. I mean, now here's the deal. Clearly, these guys are in Alien. They're not scientists. They have a science officer, which was thrown on with them, at the last minute. But they don't really behave like they know what the hell they're walking into. They're just like, yeah, let's go check it out.
They're basically space grease monkeys.
Right.
They break rocks and haul them.
Right. And so I don't really set the bar real high for them, right? But then when we get to Alien Covenant, these are scientists and astronauts, and these are like space explorers that are going to go colonize a planet, right?
You would pick some at least semi-elite, knowledgeable people for the colonization of a planet.
These people are, but then they land.
They're fucking tough as nails, too.
Oh yeah, they are.
Emotionally speaking.
Oh man,
because Daniels,
Jarreth made a good point about this. Go for it.
Daniels, the main character.
Yeah.
And everybody, their
captain just burned to death.
That's her husband
just died.
And she takes a second, has a good fucking cry, has a fucking funeral for him, and then she sacks up and goes and does the job.
Right.
Damn.
Right. So
within hours.
They make landfall, okay? And then it's like everybody becomes dumb as a post, in my personal opinion. Okay, you're on an alien planet.
Kind of typical Hollywoodization.
But you're on an alien planet, okay?
Yeah.
Right? They
no
all...
EVA suits.
And not even the original alien planet that you were supposed to go to.
Yeah, it's not the one
entirely
you've been...
different one that you veered off to chase some distress signal.
You know nothing of this place.
Yeah.
And they all bail out. How the one that stays with the ship is underneath the ship at one point in time, drinking the water from the lake.
She didn't drink the water from the
lake.
Yes,
she does.
I don't remember that.
She splashes it on her face. She's underneath the water. Or she's underneath the ship. Yeah, Okay, so
we shouldn't test any of this before.
No.
I just put this in my body.
So they decide that they're going to go check out where the signal is, and where they landed is in one spot, and she stays with the ship, and they all go wandering off. And partway there, Orem's wife is like, "Hey, I'm going to hang out over here for a few minutes and collect some samples." And so there's clearly a military-style escort, or at least some mercenary-style escort.
Security guys.
There's security force that are with them. And
gotcha.
One of the guys there is like, you stay with her. And so those two break away, which in any horror-style movie
we all know
is a bad idea.
Yep. Every time.
But, they do it anyway. Well, at this point in time, they have no reason to think this. But as they're tracking along, also Daniels is like, there's no animals. There's no birds. There's no insects. There's no nothing.
I
right?
remember seeing that in the actual trailer.
Right. So then they manage to find
Shitloads of trees, though.
Oh yeah. Well, then they find what appears to very clearly be something crashing down through the tree row, and
Not in process, like the damage
had already been done.
Right.
Yeah, it's the aftermath. Of
So,
something
but
that
then they
crashed.
find the ship, and it's the big, C-shaped ship that we're used to seeing at this point. And they go in there, and they're stomping around in there, and
They find the dog tags for Elizabeth, whatever the hell.
Elizabeth Shaw.
Yeah, Shaw. That's it. They find her tags in there, and two things. They're going back and forth between the two that broke away and the guys in the ship. And the reason they're doing this is, I know you saw it in the trailers. Those little
Pods.
those little spore things that the guy's foot steps on. That has these little itty bitty.
It's basically the goo, the black stuff
goo.
from Prometheus. It's that as a spore.
Yeah. And flies up and it goes into the dude's ear and then burrows into the side of his skin, inside of his ear. It's itsy bitsy, right? I don't chalk anything against him aside from him lying about why he needed to step away. He's like, I'm gonna take a piss, and he goes walking over to the side and steps on the spore and then has a smoke.
Fucking dick.
That's all it needs. He just needed to have a smoke. And
I would be that guy. I would be the unlucky guy.
He's like, I'm gonna have a smoke, and he goes over here to have a smoke, and he doesn't say that. He's like, I'm gonna have a piss, and he goes walking over there. The other guy that's on board the ship,
He gets up
he
and it's
leans way up there, and it's like the size of this mic piece right here, and he's like, what is this? And he's poking it, and then breathes in some of these spore things.
Yep.
And he's
which again, these guys are security, so potentially
dumb
not
grunts.
Yeah.
probably not dumb, since they seem to be selecting higher grade people for this,
Right.
but definitely not.
It's not like they're biologists or something.
Look,
that.
don't get your face in it. You don't know what it is, but these spores are everywhere, and
Yeah, and it's important to note that none of the people who are scientists notice them doing this.
Yeah.
Because otherwise somebody would be probably don't touch
hey,
that.
don't. No,
Maybe no.
that's no bueno. No.
No.
So while they're on the ship, they end up finding the space suits for the engineers. I mean, it's the ship that we saw during Prometheus.
Prometheus, yeah.
Well, then they go to head back because the old boy that's with Orm's wife, he starts getting real sick. And so she's
she
like,
takes him
we
back
need
to
to go
the
back to the
ship.
ship now. So they go back to the ship, and this is where stuff starts to spike in escalation,
course.
right? And she gets him back to the ship, and the chick that stayed with the ship is a little on edge. This, by the way, is Tennessee's wife. That's who that is.
And Tennessee, is that the one
He's
that Danny McBride is
That's
playing?
Danny McBride.
Okay.
yeah.
Which I was iffy about him.
I know.
But no, he nailed
Did
it.
he do a
Oh,
good job?
absolutely.
That makes me...
I liked him.
makes
He's
me
actually
feel
one of
good.
my favorite characters of the
I
movie.
agree.
He still is
He's
very
cool.
Danny McBride.
He is.
But
but-
he's not Danny McBride in
This is the end.
well, yeah.
Or
Pineapple Express or...
Your Highness.
Oh, God, it's such a good movie. I love that movie.
Oh man, that's so funny. Anyway, so they managed to get down there, and she's screaming for this chick to come help her, and this dude is coughing up blood. And so they're like, okay, we've landed on an alien planet, and this guy's immediately getting sick, and we don't know why, and here he is coughing up blood. So now she's like, So she's trying to put gloves on and stuff, and they go out and help her, and they take him into the med bay.
Yeah.
To quarantine him.
To quarantine him.
And then he starts seizing up.
Boys.
Well, okay, so they're in the med bay, and the pilot, this chick, Dana McBride's wife of
Ferris,
the movie,
I think is...
I think that's her name. She ends up backing out of the room and shuts and locks the door. She's like, nope. Because the dude sits up and fucking coughs blood all over her, and so she's like, nope, I'm out. It is Ferris, and she's like, I'm out. Nope, we're done. She goes out and locks the door.
Long story short,
She whenever I was talking to Jarreth after the movie, I was like, they had a wide array of emotions on how it is that they behaved within this movie, and I very specifically said that they were acting. What was it?
Panicked.
No, I wouldn't say panicked. I said there was some. I said something specific. It's parallel to panic, but it's not panic.
Frantic?
Kind of. She was very scatterbrained. She was all over the place. She
was definitely freaking the fuck out.
Very, But she's running back and forth between the two, and this one Jarreth was making his argument that that these people emotionally are hard as nails, because for the most part this isn't the norm. She does. Right, this is her, and she's watching it, and she goes back and she looks through the window, and the chick that's in there is like, "Let me out of this room," because the dude sits up and his back starts like erupting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's bad news. It's also worth mentioning that at this point in the timeline, there aren't aliens.
Right.
We are alone in the universe.
Yeah. For what they know,
aliens don't exist.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, this isn't a thing.
So, a thing that is clearly alive, a biological entity, has erupted from his back.
And so she's like, "Let me out of this room, let me out of this room." And, Chikorita's like, "Nope." Which, hey, she's right for it. She's absolutely right for it.
Cold-blooded.
So, here's this thing, like, erupting from his back. And it's little. I'd say it's about the size of a small dog. Maybe a large cat. Yeah. It's a neomorph, is what they call them.
Which those things get fucked up.
No, fuck everything about that. Have you seen Pan's Labyrinth?
Yeah.
Okay,
like,
that giant white dude with the eyes in its hands?
Yeah,
it's kind of like that, but it's like that doesn't have eyes in its hands.
If that had sex with a xenomorph and it had a baby.
They're awful. They're white.
That's
okay,
terrifying.
They're white. They're really slender, and they've got this really long whippy tail, and they're very primal. Like between the two, I would say that these are very much more primal and savage than what a xenomorph would be. Okay,
intellectual, stealthy hunters.
Right. They definitely hunt differently than what a xenomorph does. But she's in this room, and she gets a knife, and she like drops on the ground, and she's like, "Stay the fuck away from me!" And this thing's like, and like dives at her and starts like clawing at her, and
presumably kills her during that, since we see her again from like the waist down, and she doesn't seem to be moving.
Now Ferris runs and gets herself a gun.
A shotgun.
And then does the really dumb thing of opening up the door.
Of course.
And then going in there. And she misses shooting at it. And then
slips on the blood.
Chases her down the hallway. And she
ends up blowing up the ship.
Yeah, by means of this shotgun, she shoots like a fuel cell and blows up the whole ship. Now,
which does not kill the neomorph, by the way.
Right. Now,
everything walks away fine.
Here's the thing. This whole thing goes kablooey, right?
Uh-huh.
The other portion of the team is now stuck there.
They were on their way back with their sick guy.
The other guy is sick, and they don't know why.
In fact,
so they don't have any information.
In about 10 seconds, he does roughly the same thing.
The difference is it doesn't erupt out of his back. It slides out its mouth.
Well, it rips off his jaw doing it. Like he vomits the thing out.
Yeah.
Through his face, not his mouth.
It's awful. Neomorphs are just like, I'm going to find an exit. I will find a way out of you.
At least they didn't like swim down his urethra or something.
I'm saying. So, but they're in this, like, it's starting to get dark. They're in a field. This just spews out of him, and immediately
it's also worth
like,
mentioning
holy crap, and now all of a sudden there are neomorphs just like coming out of the woodwork.
So Tennessee is not currently aware that his wife Ferris is dead, because she's in the ship when it blows.
She's just not talking on the radio anymore.
Orem is present when the ship explodes, knowing full well that his wife is on board and is totes dead.
Gotcha.
But Daniels has to like hold him back because he's like, I'm gonna go in that fireball and save my wife
from the flames.
Now here's the catch, and I loved this. It's like, dude, hypocrisy. Because here a few minutes ago you were going on and on about how we need to like keep together and get the job done and blah blah blah. Your husband just died. Now here you are, your wife just died. We need to all like stick together.
Worth noting, he nuts up pretty quick too.
He does after the fact, but
it does
take Daniels to like tackle him and keep him on the ground and like reel him back in. But then these neomorphs start coming out of everywhere
because they're in a fucking wheat field. Classic Velociraptor style.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's, straight up Jurassic Park, Velociraptors in the field. Oh, God.
So those things wipe out a sizable chunk of them right there.
Primarily those with the weapons.
Are now gone.
And tried to get Daniels, and
Walter saves her.
Jumps up there and punches it through the top of the head. Well, and it corrodes his whole hand away.
It punches him in the mouth.
Yeah.
So it's like
Walter's just like, "Rabam!"
Because he doesn't kill it.
No.
He just kind of stops it, and then everybody else finishes it off afterwards.
Dick punch.
But it's worth noting that, like, those things fuck these guys up.
Hard.
And this is a moment where anybody who isn't combat trained is, like, totally legit.
Screwed.
Well, they're also completely legit to be useless in that scene.
Yeah.
And
like,
they are.
fine.
And they are.
But one of the security guys gets his face whipped off.
With the tail. It literally just, like, skink, and, like, knocks his face off.
Yeah, just his fucking...
Like, not his head, but his face.
The whole bottom of his face is just fucking
like,
gone.
Like, did you watch the movie Wrong Turn?
Yes.
Long time ago, when the chick's standing up against the tree and the guy like swings the axe around and it lops her whole body off and her head sits on top of the axe.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that
I
moment.
think you could say that her upper head came off.
As opposed to her lower body.
Well, you know what I mean.
The rest of her.
The rest of her fell free from basically the ears down,
Yeah.
fell off the tree, and the remainder
so
stayed on top of the axe.
his,
It was
like
that, but it was like right across here.
I have to see this movie so bad.
So,
Dear God.
so this guy, so Daniels just got pounced by one of these things, and then
Walter saves her.
almost got by another one. Perfect excuse to be fucking freaking the fuck out.
Instead,
This
she
guy
weaponizes
goes
herself.
down and drops his gun because he's fucking dead. She grabs up his fucking gun and starts scanning the fucking field.
Yep. She's
Not-
like, time to go. Instead
Damn.
of being like, oh my god, oh my god,
Like
oh my
freaking
god.
out, run, or shutting down.
Yeah, no.
It's go time.
She's
Yeah.
like, okay, we're down a security guy.
Quick
my
left.
turn.
It's intense. Well, then,
Damn.
out of nowhere, a cloaked figure shows up and fires a flare overhead.
Seemingly like a super ultraviolet flare or some
Who
bullshit.
knows? But it causes all of the neomorphs to go, fuck it, we're out of here.
Well,
and they
the
all run
remaining
away.
neomorph. They
Right.
kill one.
There's like 3.
There were 2.
Were there 2?
Yeah.
Was it just those 2? Yeah, so they're like, right?
Because the one that comes out of
That's right.
the one
on
that
the ship,
you're right,
and then the
you're
one...
right.
and it grows up sometime within like the 10 seconds.
And finally, this guy who fires the flare comes strutting up, and he's like, come with me if you want to live. No, he doesn't really say that. It's basically, right?
Roughly.
And so they follow him.
And he leads them to what is essentially a dead city for the engineers.
Now, here's the deal.
Really?
These people have been Pompeyed, right?
Like they're all frozen in place in like horror and pain.
Like it's bad.
Holy
and you are walking, like they go through
Are these all engineers that are frozen like this?
Oh yeah, they're going through these giant bar gate looking
And
things.
guess who the fucking cloaked motherfucker is?
Who's the cloak motherfucker?
David.
What?
Motherfucker. He's been here
Also,
for 10 years.
His hair grows.
Yeah, he's got
That was
long
news
hair.
to me.
He looked
How
like
does that-
he looked like what's
Well, it's not entirely clear to us what degree.
Of, like, synthetic.
yeah.
he
So
is.
okay, so when he had his hair long and he pulled his hood down, I immediately saw Robert Downey Jr.'s character from Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder.
Whenever they're doing the scene with them being like the bishop or whatever. Or
Yep.
They were
the
both
monk.
monks.
Yeah, that's what it was. And that's what
Satan's Alley.
that's what my mind immediately jumped to, and I was like, that's cool. So you get there, and he starts to kind of give some backstory. He's like,
He tells them that Elizabeth died in the crash, and whenever they crashed, the pathogen got out, and it killed everything. Like, there used to be animals.
And that engineer, was that what killed, did he say that's what killed the engineer city?
Yeah.
That's what he claims.
Oh, sorry, yeah, that's what he claims.
Right.
Everything made of meat
That's what he says.
succumbed to the pathogen,
Okay.
which is still definitely totally true.
Okay.
That's not exactly a lie.
That's not
Okay.
the pathogen
Half
did do
truth.
that. The pathogen did do that. The crash didn't occur the way he's making it claim.
Uh-huh. I'm
See,
shocked.
he
'Cause
flies.
David was such a straight shooter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, he was totally the villain of the last movie. He's totally the villain of this movie.
He's straight up the villain of
He's
this
a
movie.
fucking
surprise me.
cockhole.
Okay, he is solely responsible himself, I would say, for the creation of the eggs and how
He is the father of the xenomorph.
yes,
In the 10 years since he got there,
Uh-huh.
he
has been
saved the pathogen
he has been experimenting,
and like
refining
breeding the things that the pathogen creates to make a better creature.
What the shit?
Yup.
Because he's
What the fuck, David?
well, he's been so obsessed with the idea of godhood, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
That's how this movie starts. It starts with with him, David, talking to Waylon. Yeah, and they're having this discussion back and forth, and basically at the end of it, he was like, "So ultimately, what you're saying is that eventually you're going to get old and die, and I'm going to continue to live on."
but I still have to find your creator.
But I still have to find your
so
creator,
he seeks to create for himself.
right, which
He creates the ultimate fucking predator.
yeah, it
Well,
is.
and that's
So
that's what the engineers were too. I mean, they were
kind of.
like in all of the lore. Basically, we find out that the engineers created human life. They've
Right.
created basically everything,
Which is
in
what
the-
we get
in
from
the galaxy
Prometheus.
or the universe.
Which is what we
pretty
get from
much.
Prometheus.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the movie, you got that black goo, and he mixes it with himself, and then he falls over into the water.
Yep.
And
And
that's
creates
supposed
Earth.
to be Earth.
Yeah.
Yes. That's where that is supposed to have come from. That's why we are supposed to be so similar to the
To the
engineers.
engineers, almost identical in DNA. yeah.
Right. So what we end up finding out is Walter goes to talk to David.
Okay.
By the way, Walter kind of throws a monkey wrench in the alphabetizing of the synthetics.
It's explained.
Is it?
Yeah. By
Well,
twins.
It's what now?
By twins.
By twins.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
A and Z, B and X, or Y.
Because it was
Hang on.
W.
it was Ash, Bishop,
Ash
and
Bishop.
then who's C?
Who
Call.
was C?
Call, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then
Yep.
David.
And then
Yeah,
David.
I see what Rob's saying. They're going the inverse of.
So
B
A
for
would have
value.
a Z representation of itself.
Yes.
And then
B would have an X representation.
androids throughout the series have been alphabetized, contrary to the belief that this alphabetization is "quote-unquote" broken due to the introduction of Walter. This suggests upgrading to the same style/look model, or a twin that reverses the alphabet. In a sense, Ash A would have Z twin/upgrade, Bishop B would have a Y twin/upgrade, Call would have an X twin/upgrade, so on and so on and so on.
D David.
D
has
David
Walter.
would have Walter. Interesting. Okay, that's a very interesting take on things, and I didn't even consider it. Anyhow, so we get to where Walter goes to actually talk to David. And he's like, "Hey, tell me about things, brother." 'Cause
Yeah, they have this whole bonding moment where they play the recorder and stuff, and
they are actually
because
playing a recorder.
David can create. David's fully sapient, fully like aware.
Yes.
And David tells him, he's like, "Hey, yeah," because Walter picks up this recorder or the flute, and he's like, "Play something," and he's like, "I can't." He's like, "You totally can." He's like, "No, I can't," and he teaches him kind of how to play this thing.
Well, Walter, since David's time, which was a good call because David totally kills people for like fun.
yeah,
Um,
it's been 10 years, and Walter's like, "People found your model off-putting."
yeah, because he's what idiosyncratic is.
Yeah.
I would say batshit crazy, but sure.
But yeah, no, he's like, people found your model off-putting because you're too human.
Yeah.
Okay, and
They want you to be human enough, but without the shitty human characteristics.
I might
like,
eat
I
you
might
just
kill
to
you
see
be-
what you
for fun.
taste like.
right, yeah. So he's like, "So what you're saying is when they create," and this is David telling Walter, he's like, "So what you're saying is when they created you, they made you more machine-like," and to a degree, he is.
Yeah, and he even admits that. He's like, yeah, I guess.
He's like, "Yeah, okay," and that's fine. Flashing forward, you start to figure out that he has
Xenomorph
spent
shows up,
the
kills
past.
the last of, like...
The Neomorph shows up.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And
Yeah.
kills one of the last, because there's still two after the fact.
Yeah, two more security people after the last one, and then
But it
Orem
shows up
kills
and just
him.
like slices this chick's head off, and like starts feasting on her body. And then David shows up, and the weirdest thing happens. The Neomorph like stands upright, all the way upright, and like walks over to David, and David is like looking at him, and they're having like this moment where they're like kind of gazing at one
Which
another.
I feel like the Neomorph is just assessing him,
Right?
because he's not...
Yeah, he's kind of looking at him like, "You're not a peoples. Why
Yeah,
are you not peoples?"
You ain't a people.
You have the traits of prey, but you aren't prey.
Right. So he's like, they're like staring at one another, and you can very plainly see it on David's face that he's staring at this thing in just total adoration, right? He's just like, "Oh my God, this is
It's what I've created.
This is my baby.
Yeah.
I did this thing.
I did this. And suddenly Orem has gone looking for the security chick that's dead in this room.
It's a cool scene because you're looking almost like you're kind of looking over the shoulder of the Neomorph
at
and
David. And behind him is
you can
Orem.
see Walter come around the corner with his gun. Or yeah, that's what I mean. Orem with his gun raised.
And he's like, get out of the way.
And like his little laser pointer goes over David's shoulder.
And David's like, don't shoot it. It's fine. You have to get close, and you got to blow on the front of it. Like, he's telling him to get really close and to blow on this thing.
He's talking like it's a horse.
Yeah. He's basically like, look, if you get... He goes, it'll take a minute. You get close, you can gain their trust and respect. And he's trying to, it's like he's trying to bait Orem into moving closer to this thing. And he totally is.
And Orem totally fucking kills the thing.
Instead, he's just like, as soon as he even gives him it's just a slightest angle, he's like, boom, 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 boom. And he like puts this thing down and it falls into the room and it's dead. And David
he doesn't stop emptying until that thing stops moving.
And David is like, what did you do? And he's like, you were
good for Orem.
Right? And he's like,
being a dummy.
The best line, and I loved this line, he's like, you're going to start giving me some answers or I am seriously going to fuck up your...
perfect composure.
I'm seriously going to fuck up your perfect composure.
Nice.
And David is finally like, okay, fine.
Which he
I'll show you what I've been working on.
Yeah, he shows him.
He takes him down in this room where he has all these drawings.
Bastard.
He has all of these drawings all over the walls of all of his different mutations.
Uh-huh.
And he starts explaining what really happened. They actually flew the ship in, and David dropped all of that black goo.
The second they got there, all of the engineers are like, oh, neat, our ship's back. Yay!
And they all come like gathering into this center area.
And then he just
drops
the whole payload.
And they're all like running in fear. He Pompeyed them. Fucking David. And then you find out that he didn't actually, that Elizabeth didn't actually die in the crash.
No, he infected her ass.
Yeah, he kept her alive.
And turned her into, try to like mutate her into one of his many experiments.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Oh, it's delightful. So
he
takes Orem down into this like sub-basement area. And there are all these eggs just sitting everywhere.
And then once again, he says the line, it's perfectly safe.
Yeah.
And fucking Orem believes his dumbass.
And he, like, looks forward, and there's something in there swirling around.
Of course.
And it's a face hugger, right?
And he gets face hugged.
And he gets straight up face hugged.
Son of a bitch.
Yup. And then that thing breaks free.
Which is like time number 11 where everybody should have just stopped listening to fucking David.
Just shoot David and find a way off the planet.
Yeah, and then you're good.
But instead, he's like, I demand answers. And he got answers. And he died as a result of it.
Having his face hugged.
Yeah. And
his
so...
face raped by an alien trilobite.
So, we move forward, and the two security guards that are remaining...
They go looking for Orem.
They go looking for Orem, and they find a face hugger. They themselves find a face hugger.
It jumps on the security captain guy's face, but they knife it off.
Split second. And when they hit it, you know what happened in the first Alien movie? Whenever you cut it, what happens?
Well, that's the acid.
Acid, yeah, it starts melting down the side of his face.
So
right?
while he's freaking out, the xenomorph
his face
sneaks
is all
up
melting away.
just above them.
Now here's the deal.
Now, xenomorph, not neomorph.
Xenomorph.
Okay,
so
the
from
black
Orem,
one.
I'm assuming?
Yo, buddy.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Okay, so there's two security guys. You got the head of security that's over here. He had the face hugger on him for a split second.
Yeah.
So he's looking up.
Other dude is over on top of him trying to bandage the side of his face that's melting away. And Captain dude, our lead security dude, looking up and immediately is like, oh, fuck, everything about what I'm looking down.
Fuck out.
He like shoves his buddy out of the way. Now here's the thing, and I said this to you in the truck on the drive back.
Everybody's got their limit.
I said everybody has their cap, right?
No, that's true.
Now here's the deal. The four of us, because there's four of us in here, the four of us could be in a very high-stress situation. And I would like to think that the majority of us in a high-stress situation are going to behave optimally, right?
However,
when
your face is being melted off,
and you're staring down a monster, right?
Yeah.
You kind of reach your cap. Everybody's got a cap.
So he
okay?
pieced out and did the "you got to run faster than your friend" rule.
That's the other thing I ended up saying in the truck on the drive home. I was like, look, when you're running from a bear, okay, you don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than your friend, okay? And he was absolutely faster than his friend because
so the xenomorph jumps down and totally kills the shit out of the other guy.
Murders the crap out of him.
And that guy pieces the fuck out,
like,
goes gets Daniels.
Bye-bye.
And they're like, okay, Tennessee's about to show up to get us, and let's get out of here.
So then,
Damn.
because Tennessee was doing some questionable things, in my opinion, he's up above in the atmosphere. Above the atmosphere.
Still
he
doesn't
has really no idea what's going on. I mean, they started getting radio transmissions. At this point, they've gotten.
He knows
at
that
this moment he knows his wife is dead.
Which he takes a moment, has himself a good fucking cry, and then he's like, "We need a goddamn plan to get them out.
We need to get them out of there like now." Now here's the deal. He
doesn't skip a beat.
But he was up there, and there were only 3 of them up there. Okay.
Pilot, medical officer. Well, no, there is a medical officer, and then there's 2 others, but we're not really dealing with the medical officer.
Right. Well, there were only 3 because it was him and the chick and the guy.
Yeah, but there is another medical officer because she dies later.
Was it? Okay,
yeah.
You might be right.
Because Upworth and Riggs?
Upworth and Riggs, yes. So those 2 are on the bridge with him, and he keeps trying to get the ship down lower because he's like, we need to get closer so we can get a better signal. And
but the plasma storm could destroy the ship.
Finally, they make contact, and they're like, shit's going sideways down here. There's a life form down here. Things are really bad. We need extraction like now.
We need extraction yesterday.
Yeah, we should have already been extracted. But your wife died, and the ship blew up with her, so we can't.
He jury rigs like a cargo loader to go outside of the atmosphere and lands that shit through the storm to get them.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it's like, dude. And he gets down there, and
it's
just... Okay, so it's
Walter
just...
and... Oh, I gotta say this for anybody who's interested. There is a Fassbender on Fassbender kiss.
Yes, there is.
For anybody who might get excited by that thing.
Yes, there is.
Michael Fassbender kisses Michael Fassbender.
Yes, there is. There is that moment.
So what happened to Walter during all this?
So
whenever David is showing...
That was one of my questions.
They kung fu fight.
Okay, kind of. So that was actually one of my questions. When we see Walter and David having the conversation with one another, and then like Walter breaks away,
where does Walter go?
I don't know. Like he doesn't rejoin with anybody. He's just like not there. And then David's there, right? Do you remember what happened to him?
Well, no. He's like go, and then he starts fighting David.
No. I'm talking like when they have the little piccolo scene when they're playing the flute. After that comes the moments when you start just seeing David interacting with the Neomorph and Orem and everything that's going on there. Where's Walter at that point in time?
Walter's back with Daniels, who is also not doing anything.
They're just kind of
sitting there.
They're in like the movie purgatory.
Oh, that's right.
Because they're not doing anything important.
They're actually having an interaction with one another.
Yeah, they're just doing other stuff that's just not
playing
super
a nice game of backgammon.
Completely so irrelevant that I have forgotten what they were doing.
And that's exactly why they don't really show you much of it.
So then you go. The main action is back with David and all that good stuff, and then flash forward,
David
and then
Walter
they're trying
fight.
to escape, and so now David and Walter are fighting.
Okay.
So there is also a
whole
Fassbender on Fassbender fight.
Yeah, there is.
Along with a kiss.
Which, okay, so...
Is there Fassbender on Fassbender penetration?
No. Okay. Well, I mean,
possibly.
Because David does harpoon him in the neck with that thing.
Oh, that's with his fucking hand.
He shoves it through. He's like,
bam! Yeah, he like pecks out some of his internal goodness to deactivate him with the assumption that kills him. He's like, well, I killed you.
What?
But
it didn't.
Walter's model is able to self-repair better, so he's like, yeah, I'm still alive. You're a punk bitch. Let's do this. We're kung fu fight.
Yeah. So Daniels... David is trying to get a hold of Daniels, and he's like, I plan on doing the same thing to you that I did to Elizabeth.
Experimenting with you.
Experimenting.
I'm going to impregnate you with a monster.
Yep. And so then that's when Walter shows back up, and he was like, I thought you were dead. And he's like, clearly not.
There's been some upgrades since your time.
Yeah, that's the line. He's like, there's been some upgrades since your time.
Nice.
And so they start having this fight.
They fight, and then eventually only one Fassbender emerges, presumably Walter.
And now here's the thing. Based off the injuries and the missing arm and things of that nature, you're like, or hand, yeah, you're like,
it's Walter.
It's Walter. And
anybody with a brain knows it's not Walter, though.
Yeah.
Just because
that's how movies work.
Movie magic. They had a whole, I keep referring to it as, and I know there's been other stuff, but I keep referring to it as a Game of Thrones moment where the fight's going on and like mid-action they like flash away, and so you don't ever see a body, and then like one guy shows back up.
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean?
Happens. Every movie.
So
it's that cliche.
To speed this up, since we're running out of time, now,
we're good.
They're on this like lander thing, and
They're trying to get the fuck out.
Daniels has to battle the fucking xenomorph, which is awesome, and
as
it's another
they're taking
perfect
off.
It's another perfect moment of Daniels just being like, "I'm gonna fucking get the job done," because the xenomorph gets on the ship, and they're like, "Oh god, this thing's on the ship." She's like, "I'm gonna fucking kill it."
They're like, okay, so they get aboard the ship, door closes. It's her, the security guy that has his face melting, and
Tennessee and Walter,
and then Tennessee.
Quotey Walter.
Okay.
Yeah, Quotey
Walter. So there's 4 of them on board the ship, and then suddenly Tennessee's like, we've got company. And she's like, where is it at? And she like tethers her. She gets like a tether harness thing, and she gets a gun. And she's like, I'm going outside. And everybody's like, what? So she goes out there and like hooks in. She's on the trailers. That chick or that person hanging from the tether, that's her. And she's not the security guy. Yeah, but she gets up there and
kills it with a crane in the end.
She kills it with the crane. It's amazing.
She like fucking crane crushes it.
She's like, unhook the crane and give me control. And Tennessee's like, it's going to throw us out of balance. She's like,
it does.
I don't care. Give me the crane. And she's got this giant, it's just this giant grabby claw.
Yeah.
And when
like
she kicks it on and it comes around, the
thing
xenomorph
rushes it, and it's like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna kill you!"
It dives at it like a fucking cat going after a toy, right?
Yeah, it's like jumps into the claws, and is like trying to scrape the claws to death.
Oh my god!
And she catches it with the claw. And then as she brings it out away from the ship,
like a damn genius.
Oh yeah, she brings it out away from the ship. Well, it throws the whole thing off balance, and it swings her down around.
And she loses control of the crane temporarily because she's fucking swinging from the bottom of the ship.
But now she's like face to face with it at the side of the crane's claw.
And it's trying to get her with its tail and such.
It's got a hold of her leg and all this. I mean, it's like she's like right
shit.
there. And she finally gets free of it and hits it, and it goes and just crushes this thing.
And you see like... Oh, they did. This is something I've gotta mention. They did some incredible work on the effects.
Oh yeah.
Throughout, noticeably, like with the weather and the way the objects interact with each other.
Yep.
For example, they're whipping around at high speed there, and when the blood comes out, it like whips out in like this mist that goes whipping by.
Damn.
But another moment that was super cool was when their lander was coming in for the first time on the planet. They like penetrate a cloud, and the cloud like puffs away, and you can see the water being affected by their thrusters, even though they're like just passing the water.
Yep, it's super pretty.
Super cool awesome. Attention to detail.
But when
that.
when she pops this thing, it goes and kind of mists out the back end, and then she opens it, and like chunks of the alien fall free. And as she's putting it back into its docking port, it's like hissing and steaming away because it's corrosive.
Yeah.
Well, then you get inside. And you're like, okay, and they make it back up to the ship.
The main ship.
And guess what?
Turns out that facehugger was on there just long enough.
Put a baby in him.
The captain, the security officer that had his face all screwed up.
He ends up chest bursting when nobody's looking. They just like go back to their thing.
Because they're like, oh, whew, we made it off the planet. We're all good.
And then Mother's like, they take Mother down because the EM storm messed her up for a little bit. And then she suddenly comes back online as like, Captain Daniels, we totally have a
there's an unknown
life form on board.
And everybody's immediately like,
So they go to the med bay and they see that the dude's chest bursted and that the medical officer is just a fucking
puddle
wreck.
Yeah, she's a puddle.
Something blended her ass.
And there are 2 other people that are downstairs in one of the showers.
Upworth and Riggs.
And they're together. And the music's turned up.
Which is a shame, because this movie got like...
Of course.
They got like 2 seconds away from not having any nudity in it. And it would have been perfectly fine, but they have like a tit flash.
Yeah. Which, you know...
It's like, that's great.
Now, here's the thing.
They could have avoided it super easy.
They're together, and she like flips the guy around, throws him up against the wall, and like through the glass behind him, she can kind of make this thing out, and it like skull pops him with its inner mouth. And then through that, its tail comes up and through and like harpoons her from behind, and yeah, it's wicked.
So at that point, the only two people alive on the ship are what, Tennessee
and
Quody Walter?
Oh, Tennessee and Daniels, and then Quody Walter.
But he's not alive since he's a synthetic.
Yeah.
And then all of the colonists who are in cryosleep.
There's 2,000 souls that are in cryosleep.
2,000-ish. There were some who died as a result of
and then a bunch of embryos. Now comes the fun part. Getting this thing off the ship.
Yeah.
And
so,
Daniels is like, I know exactly how to get this thing off the ship.
Instead of fighting it directly, she's like, okay, we're going to corral it to the vehicle bay.
In my home world. In
open
my
that
turf.
shit up and dump it.
And so she does exactly that. She ends up getting inside one of these big trucks, and she lures it into the truck with her.
Really?
And then gets out the other side and shuts the door and tries to like capsulate it in there and then launch it. The problem is it gets stuck. So they're like, fuck it, dump both of them. And so they manage to do exactly that. And they knock it free. And it's like, they get rid of it. It's like, I won't get into the specifics of it, but they get rid of it. And they both survive. And they're like, yeah, good job.
And they're like, okay, time to head to Origai 6.
Like,
we're going to get back in the fucking tubes.
We're done with this. It's time to go back into cryo.
And then we get the gotcha. She's like talking to fucking Walter.
She puts Tennessee down. She's getting into her tube. And Walter's like, I'll wake you up when we get there.
And she kind of has an exchange with him, and then
she's talking about the cabin on the lake. She's like, will you help me build the cabin on the lake? And he's looking at her like, the fuck are you talking about? And she very plainly had this conversation with Dave, or with Walter.
But it's already at the point where he's now in control of the whole process, because she's in the capsule.
And she's like, the cabin that I talked to you about?
And
he's
then
like,
this like horror comes over her face.
Like,
she's like, David?
She's like, Walter? And he's not saying anything.
She says David.
She says Walter first, and then she goes David. And as soon as she does, he starts to like smile at her and
dumps her ass into cryosleep.
Dumps her into cryosleep, and then he proceeds to go to the embryo room, and he's swallowed several embryos of facehuggers, and he puts them in there with the embryos.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's intense. Now, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, Jarreth, was on our drive back, you had made a mention of how sexual the aliens themselves are.
Yeah, H.R. Geiger designed them with sort of like an overtly sexually deviant design. And it's part of what makes them such an unnerving opponent. I mean, aside from the fact that they are perfect killing machines, they're like always, they're sleek and they're moist, and there's so many.
They're like this. Yeah, they're like an oiled leather gimp suit all the time.
And what's worse is like they're full of phallic imagery.
Yeah, look at them. Everything about them pierces you and protrudes from you, and
then the face hugger has yonic imagery.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like got this sapphic mouthpiece thing that face fucks you.
Yeah. Literally.
To put a baby in you.
Yeah.
And steal your life.
Which then bursts from you and devours you.
Yeah.
Which this isn't really abnormal. There are creatures on our world now that do exactly this. There's
I wouldn't say exactly.
Well, similar to. There are
flies.
Well, there are mosquitoes wasps that
what is it,
do
desert or dune wasp or dune hornet or something.
So
like that?
the equation is there are two of them. There's a male and a female of the species. The male impregnates the female, but it requires another person or another entity, which is where these, like the ones I'm referring to, are tarantulas, where they end up pumping them into or hell, there's a caterpillar that some type of fly does the same thing to a caterpillar, and then it devours them from the inside out.
Because that's what nourishes the young.
Right. So, like I said, it's male and female, and so I did a little thing here. So a xenomorph plus a xenomorph gives us an egg, okay, and the egg then gives us the facehugger, which requires another entity, which would be a human being, which then creates another xenomorph.
What do you mean xenomorph plus xenomorph equals egg? Because xenomorphs ain't bumping uglies.
Well,
right?
I get that, but that's what the queen is.
With two backs.
So it's a male and a female, which is the queen. That's where
I actually don't think that she requires fertilization.
So? I didn't think that she did either.
I think she just requires biomass, and she converts it.
Yeah.
So they feed her, She just
reproduces
turns
like
it into
asexually,
stuff.
basically.
Okay, so this entire species is all about the self-perpetuation of their own species.
Yeah, like they still require some other, like a third party to be
I would
able to
say more
reproduce.
that this entire species is all about the perpetuation of the destruction of everything that isn't them. It isn't about the continuation of their species so much as the discontinuation of everything else.
Well, and I don't even think they have that as a goal. I think it's just this is what they are.
They fuck shit up.
That's
they're
it.
a weapon.
Well, and if you go, that literally are. If you read throughout the whole Alien lore, and of course there's a bunch of like fan-made stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's considered canon as far as in the Alien universe goes.
Well, it's like the comics.
Yeah, the engineers created
they have a mother queen.
Yeah.
Which is like bigger and more clever than even the queens, and they're also like red. Hey, you want to pull me up a picture of the Mother Queen for Aliens? It's in the comics.
The engineers created the xenomorph and then would drop their little eggs, basically, on bombing ships. But instead of like weapons that would explode, they would literally drop these xenomorphs on other planets to eradicate all the life on that
red
planet.
one. Yeah, there you go. It's the Mother Queen.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she mostly looks like the queen from 2.
They effectively look like that, but apparently they're
bigger and smarter.
Bigger, smarter, and they control things by means of telepathy at a greater range than what a regular queen does. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, like we needed an upgrade.
She's a super Saiyan queen.
Like we needed an upgrade. So there's a lot of things here. Now, one thing that we know, and one thing I want to do is kind of do some predictive stuff between where this movie ended versus the first Alien.
Well, we have to figure out how actual xenomorphs, now that we know that they come from one thing, got onto the engineer ship from the first one.
Because each species, and from what it is that I gather, it's like the those hammerhead worm things that are in Prometheus.
Yes, those are the not the neomorphs, the deacons.
No, the deacons are the ones that come from the
I thought the deacons came from the hammerhead worms.
No, the deacons come from the trilobite, which was on the it was the trilobite that was on one of the engineers. That's where the deacon came from. The worms were just in that room with those cylinders.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Which I guess it's kind of speculated that it's from like the worms that were already there, because it would have been like the same thing. Kind of.
Basically the black goo just evolved like flatworms for the most part. And
into these hammerhead things,
worms.
yes. So, like I said, it takes the black goo takes living tissue and then turns it into a weaponized or a strange version of itself. Because doesn't neomorph mean
new form?
New form, is that what it is? So
new shape, basically.
Yeah. So what you've got is it's this translation.
Which xenomorph also, it's like unknown shape or also roughly new shape.
So what you're getting into is that it's not really a species, more of a description of what it is, because it could literally be anything, right?
Which is true for the xenomorphs as well.
What we get for an actual xenomorph, the one that we're classically used to, is egg, facehugger, plus human, gives you that.
Yeah. Because there's also like the lower drones, which are like from dogs or some shit.
Yeah, the dog one was weird.
They're like smaller and
much smaller.
Kind of pale.
Yeah. Like I said, it fits the same equation.
Then there's like the fucking rhino-headed ones, which I don't know what they come from.
Yeah. But effectively, that's what we're getting at. And so to get around to the first Alien movie, Alien, if you remember, after they find the engineer.
Of course.
Or not the engineer. Yeah, the engineer.
With the hole inside.
Right. John Hurt goes down into he basically goes spelunking down the side of that thing. And
which was dumb.
Super dumb. And then he finds all of those eggs all over the place. Right?
I suppose it's possible that some ships escaped the city?
Perhaps. Because what we saw during this movie, Covenant, is that there's basically the destruction of their homeworld.
Yeah.
Or at least a major city center?
Correct. So, now the whole planet's dead, effectively.
Well, yeah, but we don't know if it's actually their homeworld or not.
Right.
Yeah, especially with what the engineers are, like creating new life, like terraforming star systems.
Right. So
we probably have a couple more home bases.
But what we're getting at is, or what I'm getting at is that there are more of these ships and more of these entities that are out there.
Yeah.
And so I think in the next movie what we're going to end up seeing is humanity in some application overlapping with the engineers once again, but it needs to tie the two ends from this Alien Covenant to Alien.
I wonder if we're going to jump further ahead in the future again, because this is 10 years from Prometheus.
Right.
I wonder if we're going to move past the Alien timeline.
You think so?
Possibly. Move around the time, like maybe in between Aliens 2 and Alien Resurrection, or maybe even after Alien Resurrection.
Perhaps. One thing,
or maybe Ridley Scott's just going to be like, fuck everything past Alien. We're going right after Alien, and we're going to
restarting the timeline.
We're going to figure out where the fuck this goes.
Right. So, I mean, I suppose,
which wouldn't be a bad idea.
Well, okay. So one of the other
I like those movies.
One of the other things that we ended up realizing after we walked out of the theater the other night was this pulls some things out of the mix that were originally in there, such as the Easter egg from Predators 2.
Yeah.
And Alien vs.
I don't
Predators.
remember the Easter egg from Predator 2.
There's a
Predator
xenomorph
skull on the wall in the background on the ship when Danny Glover comes in there and he's like confronting like all of the predators.
Okay.
But it is also possible that predators can hunt through time.
That's true. We don't know a whole lot
because
about
they give him
thing.
a super old gun, and
That's
our
true.
assumption is simply that
they've been
hunting
long.
us that long.
Right.
Maybe they haven't really.
That's true. I never considered that. Considering it was an old-timey gun, but looked relatively new.
I mean, maybe they just keep it super nice.
I was going to say, what have you been keeping it super nice? Okay, sure, maybe. I guess that's one of those things that you have to kind of figure out. But the other thing is like Aliens versus Predator gets kind of bumped a little bit. Same with Alien versus Predator Requiem.
Yeah, but neither of those were ever considered canon by either thing.
Right. It was just one of those.
It's like a fun aside thing.
Yeah. Right. Well, as long as they didn't try to like build it into it. It's like, oh no, yeah, those are totally a part of this.
Yeah, no, everybody going in, both parties, both Predator and Alien, were like, you can do this, but we're not signing off on this. This doesn't go down in our history.
Right. So, Ledge, which would you prefer to be hunted by, an alien or a predator?
Predator, hands down.
Yeah? Why?
Because a predator ain't gonna kill your ass if you ain't a threat.
Well, I guess that's true.
Well, that's also true, and just the fact that like. Especially predators are predictable. Like there isn't a different. Well, at least from what we've seen, there aren't different types of predators.
There are two.
Two, yeah, but they hunt the same way. They hunt very similar to kind of how we hunt big game or dangerous game, as far as that's concerned.
If you're being hunted on Earth, I would definitely prefer to be hunted by a predator. Sure, it kills my ass, but at least it's not going to eat literally every other fucking thing on the planet.
Fair.
Well, and my thing is, aliens just have, especially with all the different types of aliens that we've had, over the course of their, 25, 30 some odd year lifespan as being a movie, they're definitely unpredictable as far as many aspects, too, of...
Part of what I was pointing out at one point in time was, and they touch on it in Alien, they don't really show where people's body go.
Uh-huh.
Somebody just dies, and they're like, it drug him off into the air duct.
But where?
Where and why?
They
never get to that.
Aliens just have like a skull stash in the air ducts for some reason.
Drag them off to the hive.
That's exactly what it is. These are drones that are killing and dragging things back to the hive.
Or they're paralyzing people to be used as hosts.
Right. Which then perpetuates and creates more xenomorphs, which then brings more biomass back for the queen. Which then in turn creates more eggs. Unless you're talking about, Alien 3?
Aliens 2.
No, Aliens 3, whenever...
Is it called Aliens 3?
Aliens 3.
It is the third movie, but yeah.
Because it was Aliens, with an S, and then Alien 3, right?
I thought that was right, too.
That might be. It's probably right.
Isn't Alien 3 the one... Yeah, see, Alien 3.
I prefer to call it Aliens 2.
The bad one.
the bad one.
I actually still enjoy that movie.
Isn't it the one that the queen ends up actually going into labor and having like a giant child baby?
Yes.
That's Alien Resurrection.
Is that Resurrection?
Alien 3's on the penal colony with Tywin Lannister.
Oh, that's right.
And, yeah.
That's right.
Alien Resurrection is the horror bad movie.
The 3's the bad one. It's awful. But
Alien 3 is where Ripley dies.
Yes.
At the end.
Okay.
It's also the one with the dogs, the dog aliens, the little tiny ones.
Tinier one.
Yes, those.
Because it's still person-sized.
Well, yeah, ish. But yeah, it's the one
Because
with
an
her
actual
dying.
xenomorph is bigger than a person. It
That's
just
right.
doesn't seem
That's
like
right.
it.
It's
'Cause
the
they
one where
crawl
she
on all
dies,
fours.
and then Resurrections where they clone her.
Yeah, and they
And
use
then
her to resurrect the creatures as well,
Correct.
because she was impregnated with a queen.
Correct. And then that queen in Resurrection is the one that ends up having, instead of making eggs, she ends up actually hard laboring.
live
She does
into-
both.
She does both?
Yeah, she was laying eggs.
Was she? I
Yeah,
don't
because there were
recall.
eggs all over the place.
I don't recall the eggs.
But then she also ultimately has a
the
baby.
giant, like, skull-faced baby monster that gets sucked through a hole,
Yeah.
which was awful. It was
awesome.
awesome as
But
in,
it was, yeah.
like, oh my god. Yeah, no, it was...
It was
'Cause it-
gross and sad because it's like crying for her.
and it's like it's up against this hole and it's vacuuming her. It's out the hole
Yeah.
into space from the inside.
Yeah, and I was just like, no.
It's so bad.
I don't
But
wanna
it
be a
kills
part
a
of
queen. Oh my god, it kills a queen.
Yeah, it rips her face up.
And because it didn't have any type of connection with her.
Yeah, no, it's connected telepathically to Ripley.
Right.
No. See, and I hated that. I hated the whole when they started bringing in like that movie, or it wasn't actually to Ripley, it's to Ripley's clone, I believe. If I'm correct.
Yeah,
that's
I
one was
hated
Ripley's
when they
clone.
like I was all fine and dandy with aliens and bursting out of chests and fucking faces and all this other stuff. The second that they started bringing in like telepathy to the Alien series, I
get it between the queens and the drones.
And kind
it's
of, yeah, but
kind
when
of
a
like
human can control or have
it's
some
kind of-
connection with an alien.
it's kind of like bees and their queen.
And their queens.
The
Right.
issue
Pheromones.
the issue is that the Ripley clone wasn't human.
Right.
She was an alien hybrid
Yeah.
as much as that creature was. She just seemed more like a human.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
she thinks she's
even,
the people's.
even her blood was acidic.
Yeah.
She used it several times to solve problems.
What are you laughing about, Chuckles?
I just like thinking about like solving problems.
Like
Here.
Vanilla Ice.
Hey, Dire Monkey's still in the conversation. How are you?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How are we looking time-wise?
Over by 10.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
then,
he was like 5 minutes, like 20 minutes ago.
I can't tell time when I'm doing this. So
That's why I was like, oh yeah, we need to speed this along. So
Oh,
we're still
alright.
at the Walter
Alright,
fight
alright,
whenever
alright.
he was like 5 minutes.
that's why I was like, okay, I guess I didn't see a 5-minute mark.
I honestly didn't either.
Anyhow, so anything going on over here at Spellbook Studios that you want to share?
We kind of teased it in Spellcast, but we are working on a new project.
Yeah.
Can't talk a lot about it, but
Can't talk about it.
yeah.
Balls,
Is
the
it going to be
game.
super awesome?
from
Word on
what-
the street.
From
Yes.
what Ray
Word
was
on the street.
from what Ray was over here gawking about, yeah, it
Yeah.
sounded really good.
Please tell me you can like the working title can be Balls the Game.
Balls Deep, the game.
Balls deep. Yes.
Ooh.
It's a basketball game.
It's a reimagining of NBA Jam.
Oh God. Yes.
Is that it?
but like hypersexualized.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, with aliens,
You
everything's
dribble
slick.
with your dick.
Everything's
It's awesome.
Everything's dripping.
I always dribble with my dick.
Everything looks like it's moist,
Yes. Moist and leathery.
smooth and leathery, like
Just
a
like
gimp
that,
suit.
plus more.
Right. So, for us over here at the Spellbook, that's what they've got going on. For us over here at All Tower Media, we just got done with a pie eating contest. Ledge, did you watch that?
I did. It was great.
Did you like that?
Oh, yes.
I got fucking creamed.
Blasted.
I got hit with that pie hard.
Yeah, you did.
It
The
was
aftermath
awesome.
was great.
It exploded.
Still all over our wall.
It is.
That's even
We
better.
cleaned it, but it's blueberry, so
It will always be there.
it will. It's behind the TV, so you can't really see most of
Oh,
it.
there you go.
I need to repaint. Anyhow, so Jarreth, you have anything else going on, or are you just ready to get to Oklahoma?
Quick
Yeah.
tip. The Mr. Clean magic erasers
Yeah.
got wine off a wall once.
Ooh, I might have to
you
get my
go.
hands on one of them things then. Worth checking out, I guess. But you
So
all
I'm looking
should,
at being on the road well after midnight at this point.
Yep. Well, we're going to wrap it up right there. Appreciate everyone tuning in and listening. Ledge, you got anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it, man.
All right, boys and girls. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye, la, 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 la.
I love turtles.